Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Paradigm. We're back in person, all three here. John's still online.
Back in black, baby.
It's been a while, but here we are. We hope you're healthy. We hope you're living great, better than you were yesterday and the day before that. So before we jump into today's episode, we're going to be talking about part 6 from Endurance, authored by Alfred Lansing. Again, we highly recommend you pick up this book. It's a great story. Just kind of read on your pastime when lights are coming down, time to rest, get ready to go for the next day. Pick up the book, man. It's got a lot of really interesting points in it. You can learn a lot. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below, and follow us on all our social media platforms. All the information will be down in the description below.
Bread is of little use to the man who has betrayed his soul.
Maybe you're the protagonist in your story, but
I'm going to start with a little bit of a summary of part 6. So chapter 1 starts with some interesting insight of Ernest Shackleton. For the first time in the entire journey, he began to show worry and doubt. As the 6-man crew left Elephant Island, sunset came. Shackleton and Worsley remained up while the rest of the crew were allowed to sleep through the night. During that time, Shackleton confided in Worsley that the decision to separate the crew was a desperately difficult one. As for the journey they were on, he seemed doubtful and was far from convinced they'd make it. Shackleton was outside of his element, in the ocean where boldness and determination amount to almost nothing. The entire night, Worsley and Shackleton talked and kept a close eye out for ice. When finally the morning came and watches were in place, 4 hours on, 4 hours off. Shackleton would man a shift with Crean and McNeish, and Worsley with Vincent and McCarthy. Life on the Caird was far from pleasant. Water was always on the boat and frequently needed to be bailed out. Life for both on watch and off duty was a constant battle for the 6-man crew. When off-duty men attempted to sleep, but were required to sleep atop of rocks that were brought aboard to help the Caird its balance. This proved to make sleeping extremely difficult, not to mention violent heaving of the boat on the open sea. On April 26th, Worsley calculated their position. They were in Drake's Passage, the most dreaded bit of ocean on the globe. The winds there can reach up to 200 miles per hour, and scientists have placed the wave height there to reach 90 feet high. Every minute and a half, the Caird's sails would go slack as the giant waves loomed over them some 50 feet above. After enduring 6 days on land, Worsley took a measurement and pinned down their location. They had covered 238 miles from Elephant Island, and they were almost 1/3 of the way to South Georgia. The night of April 26 would prove to be the worst they would suffer since leaving the island. The winds became stronger and were coming out of the south-southwest, bringing with them polar storms. The boat rocked violently with every wave, and the crew knew the pack ice wasn't far behind them. They tried to make progress as long as they could until Shackleton saw the writing on the wall and made the call to drop anchor and the sails and try to shelter for the night. Throughout the night, ice proved to be a foe. Water froze to the sails, the oars, the rope holding the anchor, and the canvas they rolled over the top of the deck. With every ounce of ice, the Caird became heavier and sat deeper in the water, and by the morning, the ice had to be removed. This continued through May 2nd. To add to the misery of the crew, their weather was continually overcast, making it impossible to locate themselves. Now providing the anxiety of not knowing where they were or verify if they were still headed in the correct direction. The evening of May 2nd proved to be quite notable as a large wave hit the Caird and she didn't swing back to position, and at that moment, the crew knew the sea anchor was gone. The crew sprung into immediate action and had to free the jib from the ice. To gain some sense of direction, the sails were opened, and for the first time in 44 hours, the Caird was underway again toward the northeast, and the journey resumed. On May 3rd, the weather gradually grew less violent. The wind became moderate, coming from the southwest. The clouds thinned out and were followed by blue skies. Without hesitation, Worsley pinned their location and determined they had put 403 miles between them and Elephant Island. They were more than halfway to South Georgia. And with that outlook on the Caird completely changed. The men became relaxed and even faintly jovial. This great weather, lasted for a whole 2 days. Then the overcast and extreme waves and wind returned with a vengeance. A massive wave hit the Caird, almost taking Shackleton with it, and the entire crew had to furiously bail out water in order to keep the Caird afloat. Everything in the boat was soaked, but it was a miracle they were even still afloat. The crew pressed on And at 12 days post-departure from Elephant Island, Worsley, located them 91 miles from South Georgia. And Worsley urged the crew and Shackleton to keep in mind the error of the readings, mentioning a 10-mile error margin. With the readings bringing them so close to the island, the crew began to search for land or signs of it on every watch, but no signs were seen. There was a thought that nobody dared utter, but perhaps they had missed the land altogether and were stuck in the open ocean. Everyone became anxious and eager at the same time. If they were close, they were extremely close, and that thought alone kept the man sane. The days progressed until Worsley estimated their location to be no farther than 12 miles from South Georgia. Watch shifts became even more eager, and at noon, the fog was patchy and the sea stretched in every direction. Then a tired voice from McCarthy rang out, "Land!" There was a black cliff with patches of snow no farther than 10 miles away. Once everyone had caught a glimpse, the clouds rolled over it like show curtains. And with that, hope was reborn. The Caird made an approach to South Georgian Island and came within 2 miles of the shore. Worsley and Shackleton noticed the waves became more violent, beating into the reef, and had to make a decision. It was a little past 3 p.m. when Shackleton made the decision to heave to and retreat in hopes of a better landing course the next day. That night, May 8th, was the worst the crew of the Caird had endured yet. Violent waves, rain, sleet, hail, and winds reaching 65 knots. They made it through that night miraculously, and the morning of May 9th had arrived. The men battled nature the entire day. It seemed to keep them away from the island even to nightfall. So they fought through that entire night and into the next day. And on May 10th, 1916 at 5 p.m., the Caird made its way through a small cove and made it to land. They were on the same island from which the entire crew of the Endurance had sailed from 522 days before. They had finally made it.
Yes, sir.
Jeez.
So an intense journey happened, and it was like such, an action-packed part. But I want to know what your guys' key takeaways were.
Go ahead, Dev.
I'll go. So I'm just gonna read a short passage because I think what I took away from this part was more of just the hopelessness in the beginning, and then once they figured out the coordinations and the coordinates with Worsley's impeccable ability to do that with all the things going on, I think kind of just gives you a perspective of these men were very skilled. They weren't just some average men that wanted to do an adventure or an expedition. So it says here was a patched and battered 22-foot incongruous imaginable. Here was I lost my part. Here was a patched and battered 20-foot boat daring to sail alone across the world's most tempestuous sea, her rigging festooned with a thoroughbred collection of clothing and half-rotten sleeping bags. Her crew consisted of six men whose faces were black with caked, shot, and half soot. What is it? Soot. What is that, like snot?
When you're in a chimney, the black smoke that comes out of the logs, that's soot.
Okay, soot. And half hidden by matted beards whose bodies were dead white from constant soaking in salt water. In addition, their faces, and particularly their fingers, were marked with ugly round patches of missing skin where frostbitten had eaten into their flesh. Their legs from the knees down were chafed and raw from the countless punishing trips crawling across the rocks in the bottom, and all of them were afflicted with saltwater boils on their wrists, ankles, and buttocks. But had someone unexpectedly come upon this bizarre scene, undoubtedly the most striking thing would have been the attitude of the men, relaxed, even faintly jovial, almost as if they were on a outing of some sort. Mm-hmm. So I always forget the author. Alfred Lansing does it he does an amazing job giving the detail of every situation they were in. Because we have 3 different camps, traveled over close to 1,000 miles on foot, another 200, 400 on, was it close to 600?
No, they didn't travel that much
on
foot. No, because they'd go like a quarter mile, half a day
on the flows and stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it just feels really long compared to the book and what actually probably took place in over a year. And I think just the impeccable decision making, their attitudes with the leadership of Shackleton, Worsley taking command sometimes, It goes to show that like attitude is a big part of being through like treacherous warfare, I guess you could say. And this whole story is kind of like, I would never want to put myself in this kind of situation ever. But to see men that have gone through this in such a period where 1915, 1916, and they're out there for a year where no one could get to them, it's kind of crazy. But yeah, I think just the attitude and the morals that they had to kind of get to that land, and that their whole team their whole crew hasn't made it yet.
Yeah.
Right.
So they still have another journey to tackle. So
Yeah, man. What'd you guys get from that part?
I think that was the main takeaway. I think that you mentioned it too, that was yours. Like that instance where they were all beat up and they looked like they were just kind of like content with their situation, and they knew that they were going to make it out. At least up until that point. And I pulled from that same page, actually, like right before that, they'd figured out, or Worsley had said that they were more than halfway to South Georgia where they were going to. And attitudes started shifting at that point when they were halfway done, or just a little bit more than halfway. I thought that was interesting. It started making me think about, Can't Hurt Me, where, David Goggins was going through Hell Week. It just kept reminding me of it, and where at some point that you're going to make it out, then you kind of approach and see the situation from a different angle, and you're going to suffer.
They really did not think they were going to make it out.
Right.
I think like the overtone behind their head was like, we probably won't make, like they're making an impossible journey through literally the most dangerous part of any ocean. It's the Drake. God damn it. He wasn't making noise this whole time. I started talking. Hey. They're going through the Drake Passage. Like they literally there's like fucking folklore about it. They're like, you know what I'm saying? And then they're doing it on like a slightly bigger rowboat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I guess to rephrase that, probably just that instance when at least they probably didn't know for sure that their attitude was still pushing them through. And I think I really like that part.
Yeah, I think in that. Go ahead, John.
I was just thinking that like at that point they're just trying to enjoy anything they can enjoy because everything's miserable. Like they talk about like when they're have the pump into water on their own watch, and like they count seconds come to minutes come to hours. Finally 4 hours is up. It's your turn to go be in hell, and I want to go crawl in lesser hell, which is under the boat.
Right.
So like anything that's like not hell, they're like, wow, I get to enjoy like these seconds, these minutes, these hours, because like back there was the worst thing ever,
Or the fraction of milk that Shackleton had ordered, that was like, think about all day, and then there you get that little bit of whatever that was, and they're like,
milk.
Oh fuck, that's
even the
probably feels
the water
amazing.
Situation too.
Yeah.
The water situation.
Oh my god,
crazy.
Yeah, my takeaway kind of zooming out from the like. Maybe, they're in the middle of the Antarctic Ocean, dealing with life, life's problems that life gives you. Mm-hmm. Just kind of zooming out, it's like, life may be a violent storm. For a lot of your guys' days, some people feel like it's a lot of time that their life seems to be in a violent storm. But there will be sunshine, and it's important to embrace and enjoy that, right? He makes it a point to mention in there at the end, it says, if you had just happened to come across this boat, you might just think that these guys were just out on an outing, right? Mm-hmm. Shirtless, just enjoying the sunshine, right? It's important to take those times to just embrace and enjoy that, right? Life might be really hard, but there's going to be times when you get to finally kind of relax and enjoy yourself. And it's important to really, honor those moments.
Yeah, embrace it.
Agreed.
Yeah, definitely. Agreed.
So we mentioned, we wrote down pre-notes.
I want to go ahead. I didn't jump in. I didn't get my key takeaways.
Yeah.
So I want to go ahead and just jump in real quick.
Yeah.
Key takeaways. One, if I was Worsley, I'd go around staying on the best damn navigator in the world, because he did that whole shit off a pocket compass and like a sighting that you could only use when it was sunny out. And it was overcast more than 50% of the time while he was doing that.
Yeah. What a gangster, man. That's crazy.
For that, I would say interdependence with a team, would be a key principle takeaway to go along with this book. Like Shackleton wasn't the one navigating, he trusted Worsley on that, right? So you gotta know when you're not the best person for the job, even being a leader, being a team, you play your part out the best you can, and then you guys can all succeed, Not everyone has to be the navigator. But if you have a good navigator, use them to their best ability. And you do the thing that you can do the best to your ability, you know?
Yeah,
Oh,
excellent point made.
Right.
And the biggest key takeaway that I thought about was the book's called Endurance. And I mean, since we've been reading, I keep thinking like these men have gone through so much like no one else can even imagine. And this last chapter was like the last fucking bit of endurance and patience they had. They're like, if we don't make it tonight,
We're gonna
if we
die.
don't make it tonight, we're giving up. Like, that was the attitude you felt when you're reading it. They're like, if we don't make it today, we can't make one more.
And that part where like a wave
It's done.
a wave smacks them and they know like another wave of the same degree would just they'd be done toast. Just knowing that, it's like holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
Like they've had 16 months of just endurance. They're ready to call it.
I also like the way the detail in the book describes like how they had earned their way to land, but then land was like, no, you still gotta like suffer more, and you're probably not gonna make it.
Hey, to everyone listening, that's a key thing. Things look the worst right before you make a big change in them. You know? Like they're like, all this shit's happening, and they're like, they felt like the wind, the ocean, and land was like, not today, buddy. And like they had to endure one more day to make it happen.
All right.
Yeah, I think that like reading Can't Hurt Me and then jumping into this book was an excellent transition. Like to see that someone purposely puts themselves through hell and then see a crew not accidentally, but not want to go through anything of this nature.
Yeah.
But they
didn't sign up for that.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Can't Hurt Me, I think David mentioned it. Like I had the same thought. Like I was thinking of David Goggins, and like he purposely put himself there, and they kind of accidentally stumbled upon a crazy expedition.
Knowing everything that they learned, or I'm imagining that these men came out, they obviously got fucked up, but like they learned so much and they probably became super self-aware. Do you think if you would ask them, like, would you go back and do it again? Like if you knew and saw the future, what do you think? What do you think?
Dude, no way.
Yeah, no way.
They go, we would do it again. They go, no, I'm not endurance.
If anything, they would call it would be a cause and effect happening. I think their grandchildren or something nowadays, I think that would they would find inspiration in their ancestors, or like I want to do it now. Like, you know what I mean? Obviously it was only
something to that level.
Yeah. I think it would take, cause now our technology, our boats and stuff are super advanced. Now if reading a book like this that happened, maybe say 2010, they would have been at least more equipped with better things on board.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Heaters
I don't
and
think
stuff.
they would have, personally, I don't think they would have tackled that again. Any expedition.
No.
They're probably
I'm like, hey,
done.
Shackleton, if you had it, she's like, no, would not do it.
I'm wondering too, like when they get back, their outlook on life, how it's changed. You know what I mean? It's
Totally.
like things have changed so significantly. I come back and like the simple things.
Yeah,
are
we got a glimpse.
amazing,
We
you
got a
know?
glimpse into that where they talk about the food and they don't
Right.
want to eat no more meat. So I can only imagine the PTSD of fucking eating meat.
I would just feel confident. Like I was
Right.
like, any situation, I can handle it. Like
Right.
straight up handle it. Anything.
Calloused mind.
Especially Worsley.
Straight up.
I mean, dude could come back and do any type of naval, you know what I mean?
It's like GPS. I don't need that.
Right? It's
I
crazy
don't
too.
need Google Maps.
Sometimes I get lost, like, just driving in the same state. They're like,
Right.
don't need that. Compass. Pocket compass on the site.
Where's it like, you pussy, put that away.
Right?
All I need is a half a compass and the sun.
It's interesting too because they talk about the log books in there.
they're good at
Logarithms used to just be fat binders, like binders on binders on binders of just math, right? So you use calculus and trig to pin your location on the globe, and just he's
my
pulling
God,
that out
crazy,
and like
dog.
just like the wiggle of the boat and just crashing the waves, and he's like, yeah, log, and just does all his math while in like a dire situation to be able to think in that
Yeah.
moment.
Holy
It's just it's really commendable.
Yeah.
I was getting anxiety at this point in the chapter. Like I was just like, oh my God, dude, this is crazy.
Yeah, my anxiety jumped up when where Shackleton was talking about his journal, and then he was saying like, or I don't know if it was him or the mention of, it wasn't the fact that they were possibly not going to make it to land, they were possibly going to die there, but it was the fact that no one knew that we were out here, that no one knew that we
Right.
got
Or-
this close
Yeah.
and we died.
Yeah,
Like I
Dude.
think that like made me like.
Or they could have overshot the island.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Dude, I was telling David, like, I started reading so fast because, like, I was like, this needs to end. They
What,
either
towards
need
the
to make it
end?
to the island or they need to, like, die. Like, that's the book.
You're reading super fast towards the end.
Yeah. I
Me
was
too,
like,
me too.
They need to get it. They need because I'm getting stressed out.
The next page is like, and they died.
They died.
And they all.
You know, like,
Game
it's
over.
It's over. Book's over.
Oh yeah.
Hilarious.
So one quick thing to mention that goes hand in hand with interdependence. John had mentioned interdependence, and one of his key takeaways was the stewardship delegation that came about from Shackleton to Worsley and other people on the crew. Right, that they had a job to do. He told, Worsley and Shackleton had pointed out pitfalls in doing these certain things and how they need to be done correctly, and to be able to delegate without having to like micromanage and hover over somebody to get the job done correctly. I'm sure that amount of stress, while it was on 10 already, it may have went from a 10.5 to a 10 because he knows he can depend on these people to get the job done correctly. And I can actually just try and get some sleep. Right. So it's important to be able to find people that are on your team that you can, give a stewardship delegation. You can make them a steward and delegate them a task and not have to micromanage. And you can get so much more done with less effort on your end. Yeah. So I think it's one thing that has to be mentioned that, Worsley and all the other crew to be able to do that is highly commendable.
Yeah, I'm excited for the next chapter. I'm excited for the what type of who do they find to head back to the island? Like, what do they do? What's their next move? You know what I mean? Because they still got to rescue the crew.
And why is it taking so long? Because they spent like what was it, 6 months? They talked about while they're on Elephant Isle.
Yeah.
Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, it was mid-August where they put that deadline.
Maybe it was 4 months. It was 4 months
Because they landed on South Georgia May 16th. So there was 3 months, June, July, August.
3 months, and it took them. What was it like? How many days did it take them to get to Elephant Isle?
Like a month. They left like mid-April. They landed mid-May.
No,
Is that right?
No, he's thinking of the island that they had to go around to get to South Georgia. Are you thinking of Elephant, like the island that the crew is still on, or the island that they had to pass?
No, because after 6 days they were halfway there, or they were a third way there after 6 days.
They sailed from Elephant Island the 24th of April. They landed on South Georgia May 16th. So a little under a month.
Okay. Well, then that kind of adds up, I guess. That kind of adds up.
I feel like it really feels long because the book.
Oh, yeah.
Like the book talks about every detail.
Yeah, seriously.
So it makes it feel a little bit longer than what it is.
Dude, shout out to Alfred Lansing for this detail, though, dude. He's reciting a story that he had to gather from men who had only their like diaries and journals and shit. You know what I mean? That's
Also,
crazy.
really cool. Some people were still alive when he was writing the book, but also, he gets so many people wrote their diaries, so like he gets so many different takes of the same thing happening.
Like a constructed view.
So at this, when we read part 5, how long were the men still on the island that from Shackleton leaving? Who
Like,
did you left?
how long was the stay? More than what they
Yeah,
thought?
because didn't they say it was 3 months? It was
was more,
longer than
yeah.
3 months.
Well, that's what we just talked about.
Yeah.
Because I was like, why is it taking so long? Because it ends part 5 being like almost 4 months, 3 months and some change, and it only took them almost a month to get to Georgia.
I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So they were on that island, Elephant Isle, at Point Wild. You can actually see it on Google Earth, which is really cool. From April 23rd, the day before, right, till August 15th, they were like, that's where they ended part 5, where it was like, look, man, who are we kidding ourselves?
Maybe
anymore?
we should just
Right. So that's April, May, June, July, August. That's 4 months of them like, okay,
God, that's so terrible.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I thought. Yeah, 4 months. Yeah, so
Damn.
So that right there, they're just sitting there kind of like, well, I mean, he'll
like,
come in
what's
August.
taking so long? It's like it won't take a month to get there. So this next part, the whole reason I got brought up was like the next part. What's happening? You know?
Yeah.
How'd you guys burn?
And how long are they going to take to get back to the island? Because it's only been 4 months that we know that they reached the island.
Right.
They still got to find
Right.
people to. That's crazy.
take 'em
That's
over.
so fucking crazy.
The pictures though in the book, it was like
Yeah.
that last part. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they find this, you know what I mean? Yeah. But next part's the last part. We're concluding endurance. It's been a great book. What's been your guys' favorite part about it so far?
Oof.
I'll answer that when the book's finished.
Okay, I like that.
I like that.
We can do that next week.
Kind of want to see. What if my favorite part might be in the next chapter?
True. All right, sounds good. Anything else to mention before I take us out?
I think we're good.
No, yeah,
I just think as people, we underestimate ourselves sometimes.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
when put to the test, you really can do more than you think. I think these men really came out of this with a better respect for themselves and maybe other men alike, because under the worst circumstances, they're able to pull through and pull out something miraculous, which doesn't happen often, but miracles do happen, you know?
Absolutely, yeah.
We've said that for the past 2 books.
Yeah.
True.
It's
True.
It's got to get in there.
Yeah.
It's got to get in there. You're capable
Fucking
of a lot
man,
more than
that
you
shit.
think. All right. Sounds good. We hope you enjoyed this episode, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to Paradigm. Again, we hope you're doing better today than you were yesterday and so on. All right. So before you take off, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell, go see us on Spotify, like the video, comment down below, follow us on all our social media platforms. It'll be down in the description below. And before you take off, make sure you remember the work you put in now equals who you'll be tomorrow. Peace.
Peace.